Knife hand strike. Can we royally screw this up? We sure can. Let's talk about it right now. All right, welcome back to the studio. My name is Mr. McKee. We're talking about knife hand strikes. All right, so I'm going to show you a knife hand strike, how to execute it, what way to execute it, and then if we're going to do this in a form, where our target is, where should we practice lining it up as we're like doing it. So with that being said, let's get started right now. Okay, as always, we're going to start this in a middle stance. All right, so if you guys watch my other videos, I do have one on a middle stance, but let's go ahead and I will show you the middle stance right now. We're going to have feet together. Go ahead and just get yourself, your feet, legs shoulder width apart, and that's your shoulder width. So your shoulder width apart, and take 1, 2 steps to the side, bend the knees. Now make sure we have good pivot on our feet, and then our knees aren't, of course, sunk in. We're pushing them out right over the tops of our feet. All right, very important key right there. And then have our feet kind of facing the opposite direction, but we're going to be either striking from the side of us this way or the side this way. All right, okay, so that being done, let's go ahead. I'll get closer to you guys. Okay, so now we are going to start with the knife hand strike here. I'm going to show you the technique and how to perform it, and then I'm going to dial in kind of the details of the knife hand strike as well. All right, okay, so of course, knife hand strike is exactly how it is. It's a knife hand strike. So what we're going to do is fingers together. Don't have to be really, really tight, but go ahead and just fingers together. Thumb, cock that son of a gun right up in there. All right. Now, it could be a little bit out. Just go ahead and tuck that thumb in so it's just not flying in the wind as we're doing this. So tuck it right underneath there. And then this is going to be our knife hand strike. Okay, so I'm going to face you guys right now. This is going to be your right hand, so go ahead and mirror me. So here we're coming straight out and then striking. Okay, all right, now I'm going to go off to the side so you guys can actually see the line of strike. Okay, so here's a very important key is try not to get it right off of our shoulder. I know it's tempting to get it straight off the shoulder, but as we're doing this in a form or with testing, what instructors or masters want to see is when we're doing a form, we're actually fighting our shadow. Okay, so we're not fighting, someone real short or someone way tall. We're fighting our shadow. So our strikes need to be right where our shadow would be, our second one of us that's next to us, that's attacking us. Okay, so we're really attacking ourselves when we're doing these forms or techniques. Okay, so it's going to be your head height that's going to be the striking point, which it's not down by the shoulder, it's up by your head. Okay, so go ahead and pick a point, either the socket, eye socket, side of your face here, jawline, ear, any of those spots is a good target point for your imaginary knife hand strike in the shadow. Okay, all right, so here, okay, we're kind of going to start out with kind of slapping our face this way, so our palm is going to be inside. Of course, our prepared arm is going to be down by the side, and our striking hand is going to be up top, and we're going to do this simultaneously together. This hand's going to go in a prepared position, nice and tight. Remember, it's not down here by our belt. It's way up here into our armpit, so we have a nice, tight, prepared position with the hand that we're not using. But it has a very important job creating that power and that snap that we're going to execute to a target or a board. All right? Okay, so here, nice and slow. We're still in the middle stance. Going to bring it out. Okay, so see how my elbow is kind of lining itself up. Bam. Just like that. Okay, and of course we want to be looking where we're striking, right? So that's a very important reminder for you guys of always be looking where you're striking. Okay, so pretty easy technique, pretty easy execution. There's not too much. It's just, we got to get both of our arms doing something because we don't want to sit it here and just have this one just kind of relaxing. Everything has a job within martial arts, okay? Okay, so now let's talk about proper hand placement and proper position of our hand as we're striking, okay? Now, knife hand strike, we don't strike with our fingers, okay? Our fingers are not the striking point. So I know it's called a knife hand strike, but I believe the only reason the old masters called this a knife hand strike is because our hand is open and it's like a knife blade. Okay, I brought Bob out here, so let me demonstrate what you don't want to do within with your fingers. Okay, so our fingers are not the point, because if we strike with our fingers, okay, one, our fingers are flexible, so they don't have a real strong base. Even if we do stretch, squeeze them as tight as we can, we still don't have very good power within the strike. And then plus, we actually start collapsing, kind of like a domino effect with our fingers, that we can actually bruise the inside of our knuckles, and that does hurt, because I've done it in my beginning when I was a color belt, missing the target and hitting my fingers and getting black and blue in between my fingers. So let's not do that, okay? So we do want a good, tight ridge hand form, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to have fingers together, and then we're going to just bend them a tiny bit so all of our tendons get nice and tight. And then we are striking right down here on the meaty part of our palm, the side of our palm right here. That's the actual contact point on boards, on forms, everything like that. So what we want to do is not have our hands straight up and down, okay? We want to kind of turn it a little bit, our wrist in a little bit, so when we're coming out, let me see if I can get this correct. Okay, so when we're coming out, okay, we want to turn our wrist in a tiny bit so we can get that point and keep everything else out of the way. Does that make sense right there? So we want to point it down a little bit so we can actually get that nice point. And of course, you see the rotation of our arm. Boom. And then the last second, we want to snap that out and get that proper point of contact to the proper place that we're aiming for within our form. Now, if it's board breaks, that's the same thing. We want it at least head height, our head height, not our partner's head height, our head height. And so then we can practice that knife hand strike to our imaginary head, and then we can strike it, break the board, and then pass our testing or win our competition if you're a board breaker or concrete break, something like that. All right. So with that being said, of course, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them down in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe to this channel. We're going to do a whole bunch of this stuff. I'm going to do one technique at a time and get kind of the basic fundamentals and then the nitty-gritty of how these techniques work. All right. So that being said, train hard, train smart, and I'll see you on the next one.